Hi everyone, it's Erkan Ali here with Jill Tiny and our extra special guest, Naresh Haldipur. Welcome to JOP. It's only been a year and a bit. What have you been waiting for?
Don't know really. I'm here
Just
now.
waiting for the guilt-edged invitation.
I
I
say that to everyone. It's like, they go, hold on, you didn't invite me. What's going on? No,
They shouldn't wait for invitations. You should be banging down the door. You need to talk.
Yeah, I mean, so for our audience, I mean, one of the things we do is we kind of, before the session, we just get ourselves kind of in the mode. We kind of create the podcast and get ourselves in. So for me, you have been a part of my life since before I met Jill.
That sounds like BC. BG.
No, but seriously, you've been part of we've been part of each other's lives for over a decade. And we're still talking, which is quite a testimony.
We still get on.
You've impressed yourself, haven't you?
I'm like, wow, haven't got rid of you yet. Yeah. So I just want to. I mean, you know, that for me is a world away because that's all pre-B collaboration. Very different. Alan's the accountants, which we're going to get into. So first of all, I really welcome you. And how does it feel to be on the podcast with us?
Yeah,
it's a bit
really
surreal, isn't it?
Really excited.
Because they three of us on the camera and the lights. But yeah, you know. So we've done interviews before. We've done a few now.
Yeah.
You know, and you just seem
all
very
on
comfortable.
YouTube if you want to go and have
Yeah, if you
a
want
look.
to find Naresh on YouTube. Shall I let you speak now?
Yeah. No, I think. Look, at the end of the day, I think when you become passionate about something, and the certain things I've got to say today, I think it's important to have a voice. You know, and it's not easy when you run a business to be running a business and not know other people who are similarly like-minded. And I think what you've created through B collaboration is a group of people that are like-minded. You know, we all have the same issues about running our businesses, about you know, the joys of businesses, the sorrows. You know, it's a balance, isn't it? And it's a really nice place to be, where you feel that you're understood by other people, and we're all from different disciplines. That's the amazing thing.
Yeah, that
you know,
I think is
skill sets are, you know, left and right. The left brains, right brains. We're a totally different mix.
Thank goodness. A bit like the world, really, isn't it? So it is a real cultural evolution that we've got going on.
Yes.
Question.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first B collaboration meeting that you attended?
Yes, I think it was in Hertford in, I don't know exactly where it was, but it was in Lochfine.
Was it Lochfine by then?
I think so.
What about the Pisherbury House one? Did you come to that one?
Well, actually, I'd go back even further, because I think quite possibly there's two places I remember first starting talking about this B collaboration idea before it was called B collaboration. One was with you and with you and Dimpak, and the other one was in the business club I used to run. Starting to put it before I met you.
Right.
And it was to do with, at the beginning, it was like amalgamating left and right brain thinkers. You know, like the accountants and the coaches. You know, very different worlds: creative, right brain, art driven, to technical. Kind of, but even if we go before that, can we rewind right back? What was life like? How did you know? You ended up in accountancy, and by your own admission, you'd rather have been a mechanic or some kind of car related.
Something to do with cars.
Something to do with cars.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the connection. I just okay, I get it now. Brilliant. That about you.
Yeah. So, you know, growing up as I'm really going to have to be racist now. I'm going to say I'm not racist, but
you are.
But like, for me, a lot of my experience with Indian background people, they kind of end up in the academics. They end up in
with a certain. Beju says it himself.
No, but Beju
doesn't
says it, doesn't it? You either end up
chemist,
a doctor,
pharmacist,
and the chemist is the low of the low. But it's just kind of, you know, so it really, you know, chemist is retail, I suppose. Yeah. But there's this pull towards professions. Now, in my culture, that's not quite. It's more entrepreneurial, more business. You run businesses, and then you have accountants and lawyers.
Like the Jewish community, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah. So was it coming down from your parents, or was it How did you think it came about?
You know what? I fell into accountancy. I didn't even.
Were you good at maths?
You know, I was at 19. No. That's the
Still not good at maths.
Yeah, the biggest misconception is you need to be good at maths. I think you need to enjoy figures, which is a different thing. But you don't need to be good at maths. But I kind of fell into it because I was 19, didn't really know what I wanted to do. And a friend of my dad's just said, "Look, there's a job going as a clerk at this firm on Baker Street or wherever it was, and do you want to give it a go?"
Yeah.
And obviously, when you got nothing else to do, you're like, let's give it a go. And I remember my dad asking me within about a month of starting, do you really enjoy it, or are you just saying that? And I actually said, no, I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
I really enjoy. I don't know what it was. I think definitely personalities are set quite early in your life, and the sort of structure, the methodicalness, the way you do the work. I felt was something that complemented the way I thought.
So if you hadn't been an accountant, what would you? Can you see where you would have ended up?
No idea.
It's a happy accident then.
Yeah,
meant to be.
I think so. And then once you're in, then I thought, okay, I want to give this a real go. And then I left the job, went back to studying, finished my studies, and then took off from there.
But I want to go, because we recently got together to help you to get started on your article for the Quest. So the Quest for our audience is the online publication that B Collaboration produces. The collaborators. It's a collaborators' own driven project. They've come together and different collaborators contribute every month, and I think we're on our seventh issue. And you've come in and write an article about collaboration in business, and I think we sat down and started writing the article, and you started to share your journey from coming from Africa to
India.
England in the 70s, and what it was like, and the type. So what did I say?
Geography.
Africa, India.
Said Africa.
They all look the same to me, I think you came from Kenya.
Did you get
Where did I get that from? One continent. Anyway, but you talk about your journey when you arrived in England as a kid, and then starting in the education system. Can you share a bit about what that journey was like in the early days?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think the 70s were very different, in the past, and it was quite challenging because I was perhaps one of two Indians in a school of sort of 500 or whatever it was, and it was difficult. I was just grasping the language, new environment. But the main thing I found since then, and it's always easier to look back, is that you look for a sense of belonging, and so you want to fit in as much as possible. You don't want to be singled out. You want to be like everyone else. And the journey that's happened now and it's so ironic, is that I now look for areas to actually stand out, and as we all do in business, because to have a voice in business, you need to stand out, you need to be something different, whether you're loved or hated, at least you're the tribe that are going to follow you, and so it's just ironic, from coming from a place where I really wanted to fit in, I'm now always trying not to fit in. I don't look at myself as a standard accountant. I always speak as accountants in the third sense. Them
over there, and then us
exactly.
over here.
Because I think that drives empathy with my clients, because they actually have seen very standard accountants and the way they behave.
Even your language is radical, because you just said drive empathy with my clients. It's like, and I can't imagine you'd have used that kind of language 10 years earlier.
No
It would have been about the numbers, it would have been about the compliance, it would have been about the technical, the transactional.
Just transactional, and now it's about really getting to know the people you work for.
So just to highlight the journey, because that's really what I kind of, and I guess we're standing in authenticity, especially in the journey of possibility, because that's the journey. It's the journey. Pre us meeting, you can step back with your partners, and you're running your practice down in Surbiton. What are the kind of things were you I wouldn't say preoccupied, but what was occupying your time? What were you doing?
Well, I think you're just looking for a better mousetrap, and you're sort of going along doing the churning out the widgets, but not really getting a sense of achievement. Because yes, you're earning a decent amount, or you're earning your crust. But you've got to enjoy what you do. We spend so much time in our working lives, and when I hear stories of people that are going to work and not enjoying their work, and a lot of it is the media. You look at the media and they'll say, "Oh, it's Friday. The weekend's coming." Well, why does it need to be Friday? You should be enjoying the whole week.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that sort of stuff, and and that's what we were doing. We were doing a great job, but we weren't really being fulfilled. And we could tell that because clients were, as you said, just treating it as transactional.
So, how long have you been an accountant now?
So I started when I was 19, so quite a few years. Yeah.
So,
quite a few years.
So, originally, even 10 years and beyond, accountants didn't have to work at getting clients, did they?
Yeah.
Because you had your certificate on your wall, and it's like, oh, well, he's qualified, I'll go to him.
Exactly.
High street, had a shop, people would walk in, and then all of a sudden, in my field of understanding networking, it's the accountants and solicitors who've never had to try very hard, find it really hard to actually connect with people in order to get the business, because before they didn't have to get the business just walked through the door.
Correct.
So there's been this whole shift in mindset around who you are, what accountants deliver. But from your perspective, you were going down the route of this is what everyone does, this is what I'm going to do, and then you came across a business coach and who's gone, have you thought about it this way? And you're like, whoa, because that resonated with you, didn't it?
Well, more than coming across Erkan, I think it was. I think the way we met was we mentioned it to a client about our frustrations and in terms of sort of enjoying the business and so on. And that's when he mentioned, look, just meet my coach. I think he'll introduce a new way of looking at things with you. And that was interesting because we didn't actually know what a business coach did until we started working with Erkan. So
a lot of people don't actually.
And you're none the wiser now. But it was interesting. It took an intervention, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think again this is about highlighting the journey. Yeah. People are telling us stuff all the time. Oh, you should try that, or you should look at this, or you should read. I find that people send me stuff. Have a look at this. Have a read of that. Yeah. And you're like, maybe not so much. Maybe 10 years ago. Yeah. But at some point, someone's going to nudge you in a certain direction. But you took up the opportunity to find out more. But it wasn't like your client said, "Hey, you should meet our coach Erkan," blah blah blah. Because you didn't just go, "Great, what's his number? Let me speak to him."
Correct.
He actually had to be a bit more definitely. Direct with you about it.
Definitely. And these things, it's much easier with hindsight, isn't it? When you have the journey to look back on. And I think at the time we couldn't see a way out, and I think a lot of business owners are in that. They can't see a way out because they've just got to continue with what they have, and change is really difficult. To change what you have, to change your core business, to say, right, we'll now do it a slightly different way, is really difficult. And big companies have been through that. Kodak and all these companies which could have gone digital. They knew about digital, but yet they said we make too much from producing film that people buy.
It will be interesting in today's day and age what House of Fraser are going to do now. Because they are letting go their Oxford Street store, all the big flagship stuff. And they have a massive opportunity now to be a British brand, and like Burberry reinvented itself, they can do that as well. And I imagine, and hopefully they're doing this, that they're going to use the likes of Cambridge or Oxford or Winchester, all the beautiful cities in the country, to have a small, intimate, beautifully organised, structured department store that people are going to reminisce and go, oh, it's just like England in the old days, but with wonderful customer service. and ability to source things that people are interested in. And it's just, it makes your heart sink when you go, oh, great British institution, they're going to shut all their big shops. You're like, wow. But actually, we need to be evolving, don't we? We need to kind of, if you're not moving forward, you're moving back.
Yeah, and evolving, doesn't necessarily mean something that's new, because we spoke about this the other day, that, a lot of the interpersonal stuff has gone because we hide behind emails and PCs.
Yes.
And just getting back to phoning people, something as basic as that, is just so empowering, and clients or your business customers want to hear from you.
Yeah.
But you're always...
Well, it's interesting you say that. I met someone a few weeks ago, and he gave me his card, and it just had his phone number, his name on it. I said, "Oh, you got no email?" He goes, "I don't want your email. Phone me."
Yeah.
He said, "Phone me. I don't want to. I want to speak to you."
Yeah.
And I thought, how refreshing. How refreshing to have someone that says. Now I phoned him twice, and he hasn't returned my calls, but we did have a lengthy conversation. But the interesting thing was, it's a great filter for who you want to speak to and who you don't want to.
Yeah.
Why give them your email?
Well, I think there's the space for both.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, a lot of people just choose email because it's quick and easy, and they think they're getting something out of the way. But actually, it's quicker to do that, to get an answer, and then you can carry on.
Yes.
And it's choosing the right format for you.
Yes.
I notice you often do 3 or 4 emails. And I just pick the phone up. It's so much quicker, and you get an answer straight away.
Yeah.
Because people, that's their first go-to.
Yeah.
They just do that straight away, or they'll text. And it's like, if it's about an arrangement, pick up the phone and say, "I'll be there at 2. Done. That's it."
Yeah, I think the other thing that I think it's a balance. Sometimes I'll arrange a meeting with someone. It takes half a day. I think, what the hell am I doing that for? And I could have had half an hour Skype call done. And it's moved forward, and it's kind of breaking in. It's almost like breaking in and out of the illusion of digital. And real time. Real geographical life, and
don't get sucked in
everywhere.
to what everyone thinks you should be doing. Work out what's effective for yourself.
And also, we spoke about this the other day with my team. Rapport building is about speaking to people. You can't get the same level of rapport building through an email communication. And so picking up the phone has so many advantages beyond just the fact that you're speaking and you're getting a message across.
And you might have to do both. Picking the phone up, chatting to somebody, depending on their personality profile, how they communicate.
Exactly.
They want the quick yes, no.
Exactly.
Now can you send me an email with all that information?
Yeah.
Okay, and you have to do the email anyway.
You have to do
but you've made
anyway.
the first point of contact, and they're expecting your email, and then it comes. There's that connection. That's what you're after.
I just want to rewind back as well, because one of our early meetings, I can't recall which one, because I'd have to go and check the notes. But there was this one when I said to you, so could we talk about? I really don't like the term closing business, but taking an order or getting someone's commitment, and everybody wants to get that commitment, to do something with somebody, to make a sale, right? And I remember asking you, so how do you do it at the moment? And you guys used to just send them a quote via an email. And that was it.
And wait for a response.
Do you remember my response to you? Do you remember what I was like? I was shocked.
Yeah.
And then surprisingly, you were finding it harder and harder to get clients.
Yeah.
And we changed that, didn't we? It was it was something you was doing. Who knows? Maybe it was an old practice you did before, and that was enough, and that's how you do it. You didn't even think about it. But when you told me, I was horrified. And can you just tell us a bit about how that shifted for you, and how you do things now, the difference it makes to your results?
I think with hindsight, if I'm honest, I think it was you're almost expecting the loss by doing it that way, so it was a good excuse to say, well, they probably weren't good clients.
It's making you right.
Yeah, making us right, whereas actually facing your fears and dealing one-to-one with someone, I mean, all our discussions now are done face-to-face, and clients either read into us and like what they see, and that they'll shake hands on it, or they won't. And that's great too, because at least we know we're in a long-term relationship. So I think that makes a lot of difference. The interpersonal stuff and actually meeting people face to face, reading body language, is the way we do it now, which is very different.
And the difference to
the
results?
way we do. It's astronomical. I mean, conversion rates are just so different because again, it's about feeling that you connect with someone, And I think that's what clients want to do more than anything, is that they feel that in order to trust you, they first need to connect with you. And
people by people.
Yeah, exactly.
So a big collaboration. We talk a lot about the fear, scarcity, competition paradigm. Now we've just identified like there's many ways you could identify, but we talk about this fear, scarcity, competition. I've been to networking events, and the accountant will get up. And they'll go, if you don't get your return in, and if they don't do this, and if you don't do that, they'll go back, they'll take you home, they'll shut your business down, you'll end up divorced, and your kids will end up in care, and you'll end up homeless. And you kind of sit there as an entrepreneur, and you go, like, they have actually instilled fear, and I think in some of the marketing messages we put in, for Alan's was, most accountants you've met are either boring, talk down to you, or try and scare you with stories about the HM, about the tax man. And one of the things we talked to, you shifted from that didn't you? Yeah. From what we could call the love, connection, abundance.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that shows when we speak to clients, because it's yes, you've got to keep them informed about the dangers in the business. But a lot of it is about, what do they want out of the business? What are they like as people, first and foremost? And what are they feeling of their frustrations, and how can we help them with those frustrations? And that's a very different way to overloading them. Because you've got to remember, most business owners, or at least the ones we work with, are not detailed people, right? So they just want to hear... in a few lines what's important to them. And so if you've got that small window to talk to them, it's about finding out what they're like.
So it's like you've got their back, and
exactly.
Also, but the other thing is, it was the differentiation, and I think this is the case for every business, going from an also-ran, i.e., compliance, pass-based, I've always said like an outsourced HMRC office, most accountants. And what you start to do is actually become an asset for the business. You're like a department within their business that handles the finances, whether it's compliance or forecasting and going forward. And now they've got an ally in the business, because it can be a very lonely place, as we said earlier on.
And that goes back to what I said earlier about not feeling that you were impacting, to now feeling that you really impact, because to feel that someone says to you, "Oh, you've been a great asset, and you've helped me get where I am," or "You're my type of accountant," it's really complimentary and humbling.
And that will impact your staff experience. It'll get you referrals, and it gives you loyalty. I mean, you couldn't ask for more.
Exactly.
So, just rewinding back to those early days. So this coach turns up, wakes you up a bit, starts giving you... Because the other thing I don't think you were doing at the time was reading or doing anything to develop yourself.
Yeah.
Now, I know you now, it's like you get in the car for half an hour, there's something playing, isn't there?
Exactly.
So how I think I think that kind of happened around the same time the penny dropped, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah, definitely. Because I remember the first thing you asked us to read, I think it was Brian Tracy, one of his Psychology of Closing, and it was really interesting. There was an instance I think I described to you once where I was driving down the motorway and I missed my junction because I was so engrossed in the book. And they say you can't touch your mobile phone nowadays, but actually listening to stuff is just as powerful, because you're totally engrossed, and it was just something that got me really emotionally, because it was a bit where he says it's not about how high you bounce, it's about when you're down, the ability to bounce back up, and the resilience you show. And I had tears streaming down my eyes listening to that, because that's what happens in a business. There are ups and downs that you go through every single day, but you have to keep motoring on.
So what are you currently into? What's your favourite?
Well, I still listen to a lot of Tony Robbins. I love his stuff ever since I went to... in fact, the two events that I've been to that have really transformed, I think, other than obviously having a business coach, was Landmark and doing the Landmark Forum and the Tony Robbins.
Excuse me, and be inspired.
No, but that's a regular thing. I mean, as a one-off thing.
Well, it's regular for you because I think you've done more business than anyone else.
But
most people run away; you don't see them again.
but no, I mean, Landmark. You know, I think I did in 2011, 2012. I did Unleash the Power, which is a Tony Robbins event, and they were both
where
just
you walk over the coals.
yeah, they're both fantastic in their own ways. You know, one is like small. Well, a reasonably small group of people
compared to
100,
Robbins,
and Tony Robbins is like 10,000 people in the room, and you're dancing away on a Sunday morning. I mean,
They
it's
put
just
something
incredible.
in the water, don't they?
Yeah. But you know, these things just. I think that the reading is all about constantly having a hunger to learn.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
Do you know the thing? I still can't. I can work it out for myself, don't get me wrong, but it still gets me when you say to someone, "Hey, you should go do this,"
Yeah.
and they don't. And not only that, they don't do it. They also tell you they're not going to do it. Yeah. And in fact, one of our we had a meeting with someone the other day, and he said he invited his sister to do the Landmark Forum, and she said, "Look, don't talk to me about it again. I'm not going to do it." And I'm like thinking to myself.
But that says more about their relationship than it does about...
Maybe.
And so when someone's saying specifically to your face, I'm not going to do it, that's not about what they could get out of it. That's the
kind of,
connection.
mate, I don't know. But just to me, it's like, imagine if you'd ignored your client when he said, meet Erkan. You know, and from that point, everything's changed, hasn't it? You know, like, it started a cascade of...
But the thing is now... There's so much. Oh, you should read this. Go and have a look at. Go on that course. Go on. You should talk to this. Whoa! How do you choose?
Yeah.
Where does it go from there? I mean, we can all do. You know, a lot of people have heard of Tony Robbins. If you've never delved into any personal development or anything like that, is where do you start? You go on Facebook, and it's massive, isn't it?
Well, you know what? I can get that as well. But to be a no, regardless.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I think I struggle because we've met business owners like that as well.
Yeah, and I think if I give advice to anyone, it would be, you know, start small. You know, don't go off on a 2-week retreat or something. Do the one.
That sound good. Got one in mind.
Do the 1 day or do the 3-day, and if you enjoy it, then do more of the same.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what it's about. Because, like you say, there's so much out there. You can learn a lot just from just watching YouTube clips and getting that information off YouTube.
And that's a good start, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good start.
If you're stopping for lunch, if you're giving yourself a treat and a break, YouTube, just go into Tony Robbins or Landmark or whatever, and there'll be a little video. You can sit for 20 minutes, nice break.
Exactly, and with us, you know, you know, we get books off Audible and we listen to these books, and I've got a massive book list now. And there's always going to be a few that really get you, as opposed to some that you listen to and you think that was great, but there'll be a few that are really important.
We do recommend a lot of books, and so one of the people that we recommend, Brené Brown. Have you heard any of her stuff?
Yes,
you know,
definitely.
And it is. There are people along the way that just kind of make an impact, don't they? Jill Bolter Taylor is the other one that you kind of. You go around and go, watch this, quick, watch it now, it's only 20 minutes, watch it with me. And what do you think? You know, you just want to spread that news and get it out so that other people see what you see.
But I think we kind of identify something very important. It's onward, continual development of yourself and your people and your business. I think we're working on something called Engage Talent, the big collaborations commercial offering, and we're saying, you know, running a business today is hyper complicated. You've got to be a finance lead within your business. You've got to have HR support. You need legals. You need health and safety. You need to you mitigate your tax and GDPR.
If you think about it for too long, you won't start.
You know, and the liabilities to a business owner now if they get something wrong or there's an accident at work or something. GDPR. And that's not even without the leadership and management and brand and content.
That's right.
It's like, look, take a lie down. I get it. The thing is, like, you know, so for you. And this started early on, and it's been getting, you know, obviously part of the big collaboration story, is you've now got a panel of people that you get involved in. I mean, we've worked on so many businesses together, you know, that have made a big difference to those businesses because you've got a collaborative offering. Can you say a bit about how that maybe emerged and how it's become more?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, like I said about being having a business, it can be a lonely experience, because when you're a small business and yet clients expect a multifaceted experience with you, you've got to come up with all of these different things, and you can't be a jack of all trades. You know, none of us, to be really good at what we do, we've got to specialise in our core offering. But I think the ability to recognise the need in clients that there are other people that could help them, that's not necessarily your core offering, is what really then gets you that loyalty from the client, because you're spotting things that are not normally
and it's in the interest of the client and their business, not in the interest of your business. So,
exactly.
You're not just selling them another service because that's what you've got to do.
And so when you have a team of collaborators and you know you can speak to them openly and say, look, is this something you could work with me on? Is this a client you could help with? And for me, you know, the importance of a collaborator as opposed to just a networking group is that you've got like-minded people, therefore the relationship that they have with your client will be similar to what you have with the client.
So can I just decodify that for some?
Yes,
so let's say you went to a normal business networking, especially where they kind of go, well, you're the only accountant in the group.
Yeah.
Not everybody in that group is going to appreciate you as an individual and what you do and how you do it. You know, there may be a plumber that you would never recommend.
Yeah.
You know, so within big collaboration, you're bringing someone in. I suppose because we don't have any exclusion.
Yeah.
We don't go, come join this group and lock all the accountants out. We don't use that terminology.
Yeah, exactly.
What we're saying is there's 4 other accountants. Why don't you come and meet them? You guys can share knowledge, and you all have sweet spots.
Exactly.
That's how in our early journey we talked about coaches, and I don't think I've ever met 2 coaches, even if they're both arguments say action coaches, right? They're still very different.
Very different.
And how they deliver and how they engage and their background experience. But you put 2 coaches in a room and they generally walk past each other.
Yes.
You know, whereas big collaboration, in Jill and Izo's story, you're a coach. Oh yeah, well, tell me about how you coach and how did you start? You know, you start realising how really different your approach is and what your sweet spot is.
And there's something else about the collaborative group is that, again, like I said, you know, we have a common way of looking at things, but also this thing we said about learning and, you know, wanting to learn new things, wanting to look at things differently. We're all, similarly wired that way, which is really good. So it means
that's interesting because you say we're similarly wired, so you kind of get this impression of all these cows in a field mooing in the same way.
That should be our new strapline.
but actually, we don't all think in the same way, and that's refreshing.
Yes.
So everyone kind of comes off at different tangents. We're like-hearted, so we're all out to make a difference. We're all out to help each other.
Yes.
But actually, the way we think comes at different tangents, so that we can go, I never thought about that before. That's really interesting. I didn't see it another way.
Exactly.
Or, I don't think you're right. You've got it totally wrong. And I love it. I love it when people do that. Because it's like, and we were talking about this with Colin Newland last. Colin as well. We were talking about something, and then we got to a bit of an impasse. I said, but we're scared of coming to a point where we don't agree in the world.
In the normal
and I said, I want to encourage engagement and real dialogue, not with a view to be right and prove your point, but to actually share what, so people can go, you know what, I'm going to have a look at that tonight. Later on they'll go, you know what, I'll have a look at that. No, that book he sent me, I'll have a look at that. I was resisting it at the time because it didn't fit my model. And it'd be very easy to be dismissive of that and never look at it. But imagine the power of that by collaborating those different views.
Talk about models. I remember in the beginning when Naresh was around at the beginning, people say to us, so what's your business model? And we're like,
What's your target market?
And that frustrated them. You could tell they really didn't like that.
We were talking about
it's like, oh, you don't know what you're doing. Oh, you're so fit. And it was like we were dismissed because we didn't have it all mapped out.
And we didn't want to.
We acknowledged that we didn't have it all mapped out. We're supposed to be putting on this front of we've got it worked out. We've got this big folder of stuff that we've sorted. But we go, no, we don't know. And to me that was refreshing. But we were not condemned, that's too strong a word, but people kind of looked down. I was like,
I think if I was going to articulate now, I think the left-brainers would go, well, that's another book, BS. And they didn't get it, and therefore they dismissed it. What we're finding now, we spent a few, I've spent a decade converting left-brainers into heart, right brain. There is this whole science around you know, the brain is highly influenced by the heart.
Yeah.
More so than...
Well, there are brain cells in the heart, that's what they're saying.
Yeah, neurology. So actually our consciousness, our intuition, our sense of what's... And I mean what's right as in just, you know, like you kind of, you know, like you've got this whole breed of order followers, whether it's police or army or people running corporations.
Yeah.
People running corporations now doing things every day that they know is actually against the whole human spirit. Whether it's polluting, selling people more stuff, you know. Yeah. And I was reminiscing on, not reminiscing, I was in my mind, when you talked earlier, I was thinking about how was the world 10 years ago? Well, Amazon wasn't like it is today.
Yeah.
eBay wasn't like it is today.
Facebook.
You know, and you're saying about, you know, like, institutional kind of UK-based, you know, traditional shopping services. All right, I believe things should evolve and move on, but I don't believe there should just be one massive big accounting firm for the whole world. You know, or one big petrol company for the whole world. That's right. That whole, and part of what we were talking about yesterday with Colin was about this globalisation. I said, look, I love the how technology can reduce drag in operations and doing things. But what I don't like is the centralised power and the benefit to a few over the millions of people. You know, and just to just drive that home, I'd like your opinion on it. It's 8 people. I think this is actually old number now. Have as much wealth as half the planet.
Yeah.
Now, that's not a club I want to be a member of. And it just doesn't. It feels to me. So can we help business owners? To me, the owner-operator business is a completely different animal, and that excites me. I like the fact that Mr. whatever his name is running his pizza parlour, and the guys over there tuning cars, and the people over there cutting hair.
And they start those businesses because that's what they love doing.
Yeah,
and that's they're passionate about that.
And you know, you find a lot of businesses that, like you say, are passionate about a problem that they see, and then they develop that into a real business because they can see that there's a need out there. You know, and we've seen those all the time where it starts small and then suddenly flourishes because they're passionate and they're hardworking and they're solving a problem.
When people are also kind of seeing that that's what's needed in the world, and then it just takes off. Like the guy, what was the name of the company with the shoes? Every time you buy a pair of shoes, they send a pair of shoes.
Yeah, Zappos. Yeah.
That's one of yours. So I was going to say to you, what are your sweet spot clients? But from what you're saying, is they're passionate about what they do. They're constantly improving it. They want to make a difference, and it's to me. Businesses and enterprise is fantastic. I love it, and I don't think we need to be creating consumption for the sake of consumption. You can eat a pizza a month, or you can go to a restaurant a couple of times a month, or you can have a pair of nice shoes, and you don't need thousands of shoes. You don't need 10 cars. I mean, that's the thing I find kind of abhorrent.
Decadence.
It's actually worse. I think it's doing violence to our planet because that stuff either is using. Peter Joseph talks about externalities. You know, corporations are actually a small part of business world. They're not. They're a small part of the overall, but they have such a big influence. But to me, a small business doing something really great in a little area or region that people know and trust is fantastic.
Yes.
And that's about the humanity, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's like, do you go to Tesco's or other supermarkets are available and buy your weekly shop, or do you go to the market and chat to the people that know where all your product has come from, and you just get that lovely interaction, and you kind of go,
feeling,
and they go, oh, you weren't here last week, and you go, no, I was. It's just a nice, it's community, is what it is, and that's the whole point of big collaboration, is having a community of people that feel in a similar way. I do remember going back to the damaging the planet as a kid when I found out how bad smoking was for you, bearing in mind my parents did it as well. So how can you own a company that makes cigarettes?
It kills its customers.
Yeah, it just was this kind of revelation of like, why would anybody do that? we don't listen to our common sense, or as you say, the heart anymore, and your intuition is so. We go back to childhood, and you talk to children, and I love that advert. I can't remember. I'm not very good at being advertised to because I never remember the product. But where there are 2 children who are very different, and they say, "What's different about you?" or "What are you similar to?" And it's like, "What's your difference?" And like, and one's this tall, one's different colour, one's got glasses, and they go, he likes Batman and I like Robin or something like that. You know, and they just don't see it. They don't see the huge. Beautiful. They see the blend of what's possible and not the opposite.
So you've been off the scene in B Collaboration for a little while, although you're there pre B Collaboration, and you know, life happens. You've recently brought your partner out.
That's right.
So these things take big things.
Yeah.
But you're back with a vengeance now. I mean, you're kind of back here on the JOP. What are you looking for? What is it that you know? What are you, I don't get that you've done it lightly or because you've got nothing else to do. I imagine you're doing it for your own reasons, and you know
you know what it is. I think you need to be around like-minded people. I think this thing about you become a product of the 5 people you associate with. It is very true, and when you're out of the zone, you're out of it, and then everything else stops as well. Reading the books, learning, and I think it's so important to be in that community where we've got the challenge. Yeah, exactly, and having to stand up, having to express yourself. B Collaboration has a lot of these opportunities where people can stand up and. With the be known, be known, and what some of the others, the
Genius Slot.
Yeah. So I remember doing that in where was I? Essex.
Yes.
So I think all of that is really interesting to me, and getting back into it is I think really important.
It's best practice as well, isn't it? Because we learn how to say, oh no, I don't want to be at the front of the room.
Yes.
Oh no, I'm fine. And then you realise that when you do it, actually, 1, you get to have your say, and 2, you're representing your business and yourself, and people get to know you better. So you think, oh, this is a good thing. Yeah. And then when you come away from that and you don't have the opportunity anymore, that bravado, is that the right word? That confidence that you had dissipates as well. It doesn't stay there forever. So the thought of coming back into it is like, actually, it is a good thing to be regularly doing this, so that eventually you don't miss it, so it's always there. And then when you ask to go to a networking event, or somebody rings you up and says, would you mind, as the local accountant in Surbiton, telling us about speaking at this event, you go, sure. And it's a welcome thing, rather than go, speaking in front of all these people, what am I going to say? So it's a wonderful place just to practice and stay on top of your game. And think about what your game is, and think about, if I say this, how's that going to land with these people? And what do they need? So therefore, what am I going to share?
And it opens other things, like you said, Be Inspired. I mean, I love the Be Inspired event, and I think a lot of our members should be going to Be Inspired, because again, it's just a different way of looking at things, and if you're learning and constantly growing, you want to be looking at things differently all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking with
it's a fantastic event.
Jackie Perkins, one of our pre-dual collaborators and members.
There is no time before.
No, there's no time before dual. It is a blur, to be fair. But she talked about the Ebbinghaus principle, and the Ebbinghaus principle, if I'm right, is like so you go to a course or you'll learn something, and it will decay. Because you forget, or you don't put this. And one of the things I was saying about the importance of, say, something like B Collaboration, or any kind of regular business networking is keeping the practice alive. Is getting back in and doing it again and doing it again. Doing your 10-minute, your sort of 60 seconds. To me, I think that's fantastic, because it causes you to get up in front of 20, 30, 40 people and reconfirm what it's like doing your karate, or doing your swimming, or doing your 10-minute run every day. There's an operative
repetition,
right? But also, what I said to Jackie yesterday, look, I think that is at one level absolutely right. But this was so clear yesterday in Essex meeting, was the social reinforcement. Because when you get up and you're not just presenting and then going home, you're actually engaging with people, and they're saying, that thing you said, this is the difference it made to me. Because people in our meetings, they have their journals, so they're making notes about what you're saying. They're notarizing their experience and then feeding it back. Or someone will contribute something to you do this, or you've got a tick, or and then you go, oh, do I didn't know, and they'll coach and support each other. So it becomes a self-fueling process. You can't do that for a lot of emails or reading books or watching videos. So I think when you combine all those things together with with how many different skill sets. So you never know what thing's going to make the difference.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yesterday Barry Hager talked about his stroke.
Yeah.
You know, and coming back from that, you know, that, yeah, I mean, and you sit there thinking, I was sitting there thinking, what the hell have I, you know, I've got nothing to be that challenged about. But everyone's challenge is their own challenge. You know, and I think when you see the courage in other people, you kind of go, you know what, if he can get through that, or he can do that, with all that.
Do this.
I don't know if there wasn't a question in that. The other thing that you've been passionate about since we started, and I really, really applaud you for this. Applaud you for is the commitment to your team, because you've, you know, for 10 years. I'm not saying you know, because when I come down to the main office, we'd always do an hour or two or an hour and a half with the team. Now some of them were like, what? but last one, we hadn't done one for a little while because we just haven't been physically at the office one. But it was like, I really got that your commitment was to help them be the best, to take on some of the learning. You know, tell us a bit more about why it's so important to you.
Well, I think, you know, I think the main role, if you like, of a business owner, you know, people are going to come and go. You know, your employees, some of them are going to stay longer, some of them are going to stay shorter. And I think the principle that I always hold in mind is they should leave as better people than they come in. You know, and therefore you've done your job. If they come in and you've trained them, and I don't just mean training as in being better at their job. I mean making them more aware. You know, maybe they're reading more, maybe they're learning more, maybe they're open to more learning. One of the problems with a very traditional career like ours is that you think that just by learning more of your own craft, that's enough. You know, and I'm sure a lot of careers are like that, where they think, you know, to become a better lawyer,
get better at fixing cars,
you need to learn more law, right?
Yeah.
But you don't. You actually need to be more out there and learning from different people, learning about people, learning the softer skills. And that's not taught. The education system doesn't teach that.
No. It's the self-awareness as well. How are you going to improve as a person if you're not aware of what's going on inside you and where all your prejudices and views, opinions, emotions come from?
Exactly, and that, you know, that's why I went to Landmark. That's why I went to Tony Robbins, because it teaches you more about what's in here, so that you can become a better person for the people that you're meant to serve. And so I think all my staff came to be inspired once.
Yeah, they did.
Didn't they?
It was a fantastic.
The whole group came, and I was so happy with that. I think I stood up and said that was the best thing about the day, that everyone came along, because they didn't need to. It was a Saturday. It was their time. Yeah. You know, and they had enough trust in me, hopefully, and you. To say, look, we'll give this a go. Now, whether it landed or not, I can't. You know, there's only a certain amount you can influence.
Well, some of the feedback I've had from your team was like, you know, they kind of, one, they saw me in a very different light, and two, they said, and someone said, you know, I've seen things in myself I didn't know, and I'm understanding the world at a whole new level. Yeah. And you kind of go, thank you, and your work's worked on it. But there is, you know, as an accountant as well, you've been very instrumental in making sure that whatever you've learned through what we've done, you've wanted your clients. You've introduced me to so many clients. Yeah. But also, it's an expense. You know, it doesn't come. It's not free, and it is expensive if you're not getting value. But it's almost free. If in fact it should pay you back. But there's this thing about, you know, if you start training your team, what if they leave? And you just kind of. But you know, the thing we always said to me was like, what if you don't train them and they stay? Because that's what people in the fear scarcity competition. I'm not going to train you because then you want more money, and then you're going to think you have more confidence, and then you're going to leave because so I'd rather you were just. You know, so is training something that a lot of your clients are talking about and
and I think, you know, where people miss where I think people miss a big trick there is that your team are your company, and so the more training you put in the team, they will go out and make the clients happy. Because it's expected that as a business owner you'd make the client happy, right? You're the business owner. But when they get that same experience from the team and they come to me and say things like, you know, Sophie's great, or Christy's great. It's really empowering, and it helps us feel that we're doing our job properly.
I think as well, when you've got that kind of emphasis on your team, and they then, as a result of that, are enjoying their work.
Yeah.
What happens is when they're going out socially and they're meeting other people and they're talking and they're chatting, and then everyone goes, "Oh yeah, Sophie really loves her job," and she's talking about it all the time. It's like, so what is it you do? "Oh, accountancy firm. Oh, actually, my dad's looking for a new accountant," and that's, you've got this sales team going on without you even realise that they are your raving fans, because you are giving them an amazing work experience, and they wouldn't want to go anywhere else. So you've got no recruitment costs because they love where they are. Your sales funnel is always out there because they are just sharing. And I love the idea, and this is what I say to my clients, is on Friday night you want to know that your staff are going out for a drink. Oh, thank God it's Friday, brilliant. But actually no, because they enjoy it so much anyway, but they're going to be sharing about what I've done this amazing week, I've had this great time. I went on this concert, be inspired, I'm going to go tomorrow. And all of that compounds into making your business head and shoulders better.
And that's why I don't think of it as a cost. I think of it as you can think of it as a marketing investment, because at the end of the day that is a good investment that can pay dividends because of the longevity in the staff and the clients and everything else.
I just had this thought, I was just thinking over the last 10 years of my engagement with Islands, is although people come and go, which is again, and clients come and go. The thing is, there's certain... It's like, although people come and go, the business has a flavour. It has I don't want to use the usual cliches like brand, but it has a certain way. The business is in the business. So when the new person comes, they come. One, they're probably attracted to want to have a job in a place that has these values, but then they start playing their part. It's a bit like different actors coming and going from a film set. I don't know, theatre. They'll come and go, but the show still goes on, and it still has a certain theme. And I think, obviously, as the leader of your business, and that's your job to make sure those things are still maintained. So really, training and developing your people. Yes, different people come and go, but the training doesn't go, it stays within the culture of the business.
And the other interesting thing, going back to what you said about how we pick this up, when I look at my children going through their teenage years, they're never taught any of this. Schools don't bring in coaches to make you think differently and to really explore your inner self, and that it's all about just training and passing exams, and in the workplace, we're actually regulated by an accountancy institute. They wouldn't bring in a coach to say, look, maybe this can make how many accountancy firms could look at things differently and expand their businesses from having this different kind of outlook, rather than just feeling that all the regulators do is come once a year to inspect our books. Again, it's back to that fear paradigm.
Yeah, but it's really interesting. What you're saying is actually quite controversial, isn't it? Because you've just criticised the education system, but that is what's going on out there.
I'm doing it through personal. I've been through this, and so I see it personally, where everything is about the fear paradigm, and and just doing things a certain way. I once met. I've met a guy at my son's school who was a teacher who quoted Ken Robinson, and he quoted that slideshow he did, and I thought that was awesome, to say. I think the title was "Schools Kill Creativity" or something, right? And he actually showed it to the whole year 6 or whatever year they were in at the time. That takes some guts. That takes you when you're in the establishment, to stand out and say, well, actually, there's another way of looking at this.
There is a lot of, you hear about, scientists stepping out of the mainstream, reporters and journalists stepping out of the mainstream. You find these people that kind of wake up, or educationalists. A lot of the research I do are people who stepped out of the mainstream and said, you know what? Then they found their voice, and they're saying something very contrary to what the mainstream is saying. And I think that takes massive courage, because generally, what I found is people at the mainstream, at the top of their careers or on top of these institutions, are bored. They're bought. They got big wages, big mortgages, probably school fees. There's a certain standing in the community to turn around and go, you know what, this ain't great what we're doing. We're not running our schools or our NHS in the way that's really benefiting people. They're out. They're out. They're dust. To change it within is a really, really, I don't know. I think it's a bit of an oxymoron. I think it's very hard to change it within.
Yeah. And
I don't know what you do when you're out. You can criticise it. I don't know. But imagine you get in politics and you get high up in politics. You just see the system doesn't draw for transforming. It draws for staying the same.
I mean, there's something that not a lot of people may know, that the term accountant isn't a regulated term. So anyone can set themselves up and call themselves an accountant, right? And like you said, in the olden days, your work was just coming to you because you had to go through a system of training and be qualified. And I often used to say to my ex-business partner, I don't want the regulation of belonging to this to this membership. In fact, next week you might find I'm not. But
after this, you mean?
Yeah, after this. But because there is a certain thing that says, look, I get it. In very large firms where the work is highly technical, and you need a certain level of expertise, and you need to be regulated because you're doing very complex accounting. It's different, but in a small business where it's all about interpersonal skills and understanding your customer, that's far more important than all the stuff to do with the regulations.
Well, let me ask you a question. In how many years? 25, whatever years it is you've been an accountant, right? Has anyone actually asked you for your credentials?
Not
ever?
They don't even know what it stands for. They
either like you and they feel you're looking after them.
Exactly. Or they don't. And so that is really the key. If I added something different on my business card, it would make no effect to a client. But if I phoned them once a week, it would make a massive effect. And that's the difference.
Okay. Changing ourselves, moving on forward, because we've been going an hour.
It
goes quick, doesn't it? So we've got engaged talent coming up. Now, I know you've not been highly involved in how it's been evolved, but obviously we started talking about it, and obviously that's an evolution of the B collaboration proposition. It's taking that talent, nurturing it, building, going back to what you said, like-minded, light-hearted, shared values, shared higher purpose type people, and then taking that talent. It was always about finding people who are doing something they really love, they're really good at it, and they share values, and pointing that value at different businesses and organisations. So what are your thoughts about how engaged talent might evolve?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because I think at the end of the day, what you've done is you've got together various specialisms that complement each other. And the way we're able to go in. See, one of the problems I have sometimes is I'll go in and see a reasonably large client, and it will be very difficult to service that client on my own. They'll require lots of different facets of touch points that won't necessarily be what I'm offering right now. And we've done that before. We've done that where I've gone in and done a proposal, and they've said, well, actually what we want is your business coach.
That's happened a few.
Because you seem to be on well, maybe I shouldn't say it on camera, but they say that I'm so hyped up and so passionate. Where did you get that from? And I have to tell them, look, I'm not on any kind of pill.
That's what you think.
It's actually my business coach. So so I see the way we're doing this as being a way that businesses can actually get a host of talent in similar disciplines, and they can choose, which part of that discipline they want.
Which is actually saying, do the best thing for that business right now, rather than what you've got to sell. Because we've both got examples. I think you've got clients that I didn't get them, but I referred you in because that was what they wanted right now. That's what they needed. And I think there's an integrity in that, isn't there? Because you're forwarding something in the world that makes a difference, as opposed to just trying to sell on pundit product, which is a totally different space.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything else you want to add, Miss Brown, Mr. Jill Tiny? Mrs. Brown.
Don't
call you Mrs. Brown, do we?
No.
Sorry.
No.
Scrub that.
Before we started this recording, you were interested in seeing the French Open.
Yeah.
And then I found out during this recording that you're into cars as well.
Right.
So what does Naresh do when he's not an accountant?
Cars and tennis. No, I love tennis. I mean, you know, when I'm playing tennis, I just, you know, the thing about running a business is, especially with the phones and everything we carry around, you know, the ding of the phone, you can never stop thinking for a minute. And I don't think until you start a business, you know what that feels like. You know, you never switch off. There is no such thing as a 9 to 5. And the only time I can switch off is when I play tennis.
Yeah, because you have to think about what you're doing, yeah.
Well, not so. I just love it so much, you know. And
are you competitive?
It just
then?
allows
Do you have
me.
to win?
No, actually, I'm more. Yeah, I think if you did a personality profile on me, I'm more about enjoying and being passionate at what I do than necessarily having the win. You know, especially because I'm never going to be Rafael Nadal. Let's face it.
So when you're not very good, that's what you say.
Yeah.
That's why I say that's why I say when I go on track days. They go, "You're a really good driver." I go, "No, but I enjoy it."
No, I really do. I mean, you know, and my son plays, so I love playing with him.
That's
it's
nice.
you know.
And how old is he now?
He's 17.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
And you've got a daughter as well.
And a daughter who's 21. Yeah. She's doing architecture. Very, very right brain. Right brain. Yeah. Sorry. Don't know who she got that from. But it wasn't me.
She's a throwback.
So she's a great artist. So
wow.
Yeah. So those are the sort of things I love to do. And I think, you know, when all said and done, you know, I don't mean this to sound you know, anything other than what I'm saying, but I think when all's said and done, you just want someone to say, when you've stopped and you've got to the end of your career, I remember a firm that used to be there, and they really used to have a great culture and a great meaning. You know, and just leaving that small legacy about something, I think, is really important. You know, standing for something. Because we can all earn money, can't we? We can all earn money doing anything. It's about, you know, what do you stand for? That's really more important than just earning the money, and having passion.
A lovely place to stop.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
So I want to say thank you. It's been a delight.
Thank you.
It's been a long time coming. Come again.
It's been really enjoyable.
Yeah.
Bit of a sales pitch for you, but that's okay.
That's why we do this. But listen, you know, on that note, you have been an ally, a collaborator, a friend, you know, everything, you know, and I just, my life would be very different if it was
Pleasure to have you in our community. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So, thank you. So on that note, so that's a wonderful JOP with Naresh Haldipur. You can find him on allenstheaccountants.com. We'll put all the details below this video. A total star. We love him to bits. And I want to thank Jill for hosting today's show. And say goodbye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.